The communication screen flickered to life in the command center of Earth's Defense Headquarters. Captain Daewon Kim stood straight as the holographic image of a crystalline alien appeared before him. The creature's body seemed to be made of pure light, constantly shifting between colors that human eyes struggled to process. Captain Kim of the human species. The alien's voice echoed through the room like wind chimes in a storm. The Galactic Federation Council summons Earth to send representatives immediately. You will travel to Talaxis Prime within 10 solar rotations. This is not a request. The transmission ended before Daewon could respond. He stood in silence for a moment, his jaw tight. Earth had joined the Federation only 3 years ago, and already the older alien races treated humanity like children who needed constant supervision. He pressed a button on his console and spoke clearly. Contact Dr. Hana Choi and Ambassador Jung-ho Park. Tell them we have a situation. Within hours, the 3 humans met in a secure briefing room. Dr. Hana Choi arrived first, her white lab coat still on from working in the quantum research facility. She was young for such an important position, but her mind was among the sharpest on Earth. Ambassador Jung-ho Park came next, dressed in a formal suit, his face showing the calm expression of someone who had negotiated with hostile parties for decades. They wouldn't say what this is about, Daewon explained, pulling up the transmission recording. But the tone was clear. This isn't a friendly invitation. Hana adjusted her glasses and studied the alien's image on the screen. The lumens rarely contact junior species directly. If their council chair is involved, this is serious. Jung-ho leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled together. I've heard rumors from other new species. The Federation has certain expectations. They call it knowledge sharing for collective advancement. Others call it mandatory technology transfer. They want our tech, Daewon said flatly. Perhaps, Jung-ho replied. But we won't know until we get there. I suggest we prepare for multiple scenarios. The next morning, they boarded the human starship Tajuchi. It was a beautiful vessel, sleek and powerful, built using Earth's newest innovations in propulsion and shielding. As they lifted off from Earth's orbital station, Daewon looked back at the blue planet below. Something told him that this journey would change everything. The trip to Talaxis Prime took 3 days through hyperspace. During that time, the 3 humans reviewed everything they knew about the Federation Council. It was composed of 5 elder races who had founded the organization 10,000 years ago. They claimed to work for peace and cooperation, but the reality was more complicated. Smaller species had little voice in decisions. Rules seemed to favor the powerful. When the Tajugi emerged from hyperspace near Talaxis Prime, the crew gasped at the sight. The planet was surrounded by a massive space station that looked like a metal ring around the entire world. Hundreds of alien ships floated nearby, each one unique in design. Some looked like living creatures, others like geometric crystals, and some seemed to defy physics entirely. Taiguchi. You are cleared for docking at Platform 7, a mechanical voice announced in perfect English. Your weapons must be powered down. Your ship will be scanned upon arrival. Daewon gritted his teeth but complied. They were in Federation territory now. The docking process was smooth but cold. No welcoming party waited for them. Instead, a small floating drone guided them through sterile white corridors toward the council chambers. The hallways were enormous, built to accommodate species of vastly different sizes. Twice they passed groups of aliens who stopped to stare at the humans with expressions that ranged from curiosity to what looked like contempt. Finally, they reached a massive door that spiraled open like a flower blooming. Beyond it lay the council chamber, a circular room with a domed ceiling that showed the stars above. 5 platforms surrounded the center, each holding one of the elder species representatives. The Lumen representative, Crystallix, glowed brightest at the highest platform. Below him sat a cluster of insectoid aliens from the Vring Collective, their multiple eyes watching the humans like predators studying prey. The amphibious Cathari delegate rested in a tank of liquid, its tentacles pressed against the glass. Two other species occupied the remaining platforms. Humans of Earth, Crystallix's voice filled the chamber. You have been summoned to address a matter of great importance to the Federation. Junho stepped forward, his voice steady. The United Earth government is honored by this invitation. How may we serve the Council? Serve? A clicking laugh came from the Vrin platform. You misunderstand your position, young species. Crystallix's light pulsed in what might have been annoyance at the interruption. Earth has made remarkable technological progress in recent years. Your faster-than-light drives are now 30% more efficient than standard Federation models. Your energy shields operate on principles our scientists do not fully understand. Your medical technology has achieved cellular regeneration that takes other species centuries to develop. Hannah felt her stomach tighten. They had noticed everything. Federation law is clear, Crystallix continued. All member species must contribute their technological breakthroughs to the collective database. This ensures that all civilizations benefit from progress. We require Earth to provide complete technical specifications of your recent innovations within 30 solar rotations. The chamber fell silent. Day one, Hana and Junho exchanged quick glances. They had suspected this might be coming, but hearing it stated so bluntly was still shocking. Junho kept his voice diplomatic. Council Chair Crystallix, this is an unexpected request. We would need time to consult with our government before making such a significant decision. It is not a request, the Cathari delegate gurgled from its tank. It is Federation law. Compliance is mandatory. Nevertheless, Junho continued firmly, Earth takes its commitments seriously. We cannot agree to such a major action without proper governmental approval. We request 7 days to return to Earth and present this matter to our leaders. The council members exchanged communications in languages the humans couldn't understand. Finally, Crystallix spoke again. You will have your 7 days. But understand this, humans. The Federation has existed for 10,000 years. Many species have stood where you stand now. Those who cooperated prospered. Those who did not. He paused meaningfully. They learned difficult lessons about the cost of standing alone in a vast galaxy. The meeting was over. As the three humans walked back through the corridors toward their ship, none of them spoke until they were safely aboard the Telegukchi. That was a threat, Daewon said quietly. Yes, Junho agreed. A very clear one. Hannah looked out the viewport at the massive space station. They don't want cooperation. They want submission. As the Telegukchi pulled away from Talaxis Prime and jumped into hyperspace, Captain Daewon Kim made a decision. Whatever Earth chose to do, he would stand by his planet, even if it meant standing against the entire galaxy. The Telegukchi touched down at Earth's primary spaceport in Geneva, just as the sun rose over the Alps. Captain Daewon Kim, Dr. Hannah Choi, and Ambassador Junho Park had barely slept during the return journey, spending every hour preparing their report for the United Earth Council. Within 3 hours of landing, they stood in the circular assembly hall where representatives from every nation on Earth gathered for critical decisions. The room buzzed with nervous energy. News of the Federation's demands had spread quickly through official channels, and everyone understood the weight of what was coming. President Minho Kang entered through the main doors, and the room fell silent. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen both war and peace during his long career in international relations. He took his seat at the central podium and nodded to Ambassador Junho. Members of the United Earth Council, Junho began, his voice carrying through the chamber without needing amplification. 3 days ago, we were summoned to Talaxis Prime by the Galactic Federation Council. They have demanded that Earth surrender complete technical specifications for all our recent technological innovations. They claim this is required by Federation law. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. A representative from the Asian Union stood immediately. Surrender? That's an extreme word, Ambassador. But an accurate one, Junho replied calmly. They were very clear. We must provide everything within 30 days, or face consequences. What kind of consequences? Asked a delegate from the African Coalition. They didn't specify, but the threat was obvious. President Minho gestured to Dr. Hannah Choi. Doctor, please explain to the Council exactly what they're asking us to give up. Hannah stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed Earth's recent technological achievements. In the past 5 years, we've made breakthroughs in several key areas. Our quantum displacement drive makes our ships faster than anything the Federation currently uses. Our adaptive shield technology can withstand weapon types that would destroy standard Federation defenses. Our medical nanobots can repair cellular damage at a rate that most species consider impossible. She paused, letting the information sink in. If we give them these technologies, we lose our only advantages. Earth becomes just another junior member with nothing special to offer. A European Union representative raised his hand. But surely cooperation leads to mutual benefit? Isn't that the purpose of joining the Federation? That's what they claim, Hana replied. But I need to show you something else. She changed the holographic display. Now it showed a timeline of different alien species who had joined the Federation over the past 1,000 years. These are 12 civilizations that were admitted as junior members. All of them made significant technological contributions soon after joining. Within 50 years of sharing their innovations, 11 of these species experienced severe economic decline. 3 are now considered servant races with no real political power. 2 have gone completely extinct. The chamber erupted in shocked conversation. President Minho raised his hand for silence. Dr. Choi, are you suggesting the Federation deliberately exploits new members? I'm saying the pattern is clear, Hana answered carefully. Once a species shares its unique technologies, the older races incorporate those advances. Then they use their greater resources to mass-produce and sell improved versions. The original inventors can't compete. They become economically dependent on the elder species. After that, political independence becomes meaningless. Captain Day One stepped forward. There's something else the Council doesn't know. Our technological progress wasn't just human innovation. The room went completely quiet. This was classified information that only a handful of people knew. 15 years ago, Day One continued, we discovered a derelict alien ship in the outer solar system. It had been there for thousands of years, hidden in the Kuiper Belt. The species that built it is extinct now. We don't know what happened to them, but they left behind incredible technology. Our scientists have spent years studying their designs and combining them with human engineering. That's how we made such rapid progress. He looked around the chamber. If we give the Federation our specifications, they'll realize we have access to ancient alien technology. They'll demand access to the original ship and all our research. We'll lose control of the single most important discovery in human history. A delegate from the South American Federation stood. Then we have no choice. We must refuse their demands. Refusing could mean war, another representative countered. We've seen their fleet. We have 100 military ships. They have tens of thousands. We can't win a war, agreed a Pacific Coalition delegate. But can we survive being their servants? The debate continued for hours. Arguments flew back and forth across the chamber. Some urged caution and cooperation. Others demanded defiance and independence. Through it all, President Minho listened carefully, his face revealing nothing. Finally, as the sun began to set outside the windows, Intelligence Chief Ji-Won Lee was granted the floor. She was a small woman with sharp features and an expression that suggested she knew far more than she ever said aloud. "I've been analyzing Federation communications that my agents have intercepted," Ji-Won began. "The elder species are worried. Several of their colonies have experienced civil unrest in recent years. Younger generations question why their civilizations haven't made major innovations in centuries. The Federation's technology has essentially stagnated. They need fresh ideas, new approaches. They need what Earth has." She pulled up intercepted messages on the holographic display. But here's what's interesting. Not all Federation members support the Council's approach. At least 15 junior and mid-level species have privately expressed frustration with mandatory technology sharing. They're watching Earth very carefully. If we comply, it confirms their fears that resistance is impossible. But if we stand firm, we inspire others, Junho finished the thought. We show them that the Council can be challenged. Ji-Won nodded. Exactly. The Federation isn't as united as they pretend. There are cracks in their system. President Minho finally stood. The chamber fell silent instantly. "I've heard all your arguments. Both sides have merit. But I keep returning to one fundamental question. If we surrender our sovereignty now, will we ever get it back?" He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of delegates from every nation. Earth has always been a planet of diverse peoples who learn to work together. We fought wars, made peace, built civilizations, and rebuilt them when they fell. We've never been a species that accepts being told we have no choice. His voice grew stronger. The Federation wants our technology because they've forgotten how to create their own. They want us to save them from their own stagnation. But if we do it on their terms, we doom ourselves to the same fate. President Minho placed both hands on the podium. "I propose that Earth refuse the Federation's demands. We will offer to engage in bilateral technology exchanges with individual species on terms of mutual respect and fair trade. But we will not surrender our innovations through forced compliance." "Mr. President," a nervous delegate interrupted. "What if they attack us?" "Then we defend ourselves," Minho replied firmly. "And we show the galaxy that humanity did not crawl out of caves, survive ice ages, and reach the stars just to kneel before the first empire we encountered." He called for a vote. The chamber was silent as each delegate cast their decision electronically. The results appeared on the main screen. 73% voted to refuse. 22% voted to comply. 5% abstained. Earth had made its choice. Ambassador Junho would return to Talaxis Prime with their answer. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, many wore expressions of determination mixed with fear. They had just committed Earth to an uncertain path. Captain Day 1 found Dr. Hannah in the hallway outside. "Do you think we made the right choice?" she asked quietly. He looked out the window at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "I think we made the only choice we could live with. Whatever happens next, at least we'll face it with our dignity intact." Hannah nodded slowly. "I hope dignity will be enough." "It'll have to be," Day 1 replied. "Because we're about to find out what it costs." The council chamber on Talaxis Prime looked exactly as it had 7 days earlier. But the atmosphere felt different. More tense. More dangerous. Captain Day 1 Kim noticed that additional ships had gathered around the station, many of them bearing the military markings of the elder species. It was a show of force. Ambassador Junho Park stood in the center of the circular chamber, holding a data tablet containing Earth's official response. Dr. Hana Choi and Captain Daewon flanked him on either side. The 5 elder species representatives watched from their elevated platforms like judges preparing to deliver a sentence. "The United Earth Council has reviewed your requirements," Junho began, his voice steady despite the hostile audience. "We have given this matter careful consideration and extensive debate." Crystallix's form brightened slightly. "Then you have prepared the technical specifications we requested?" "No," Junho replied simply. "We have not." The chamber erupted. The Vrin Collective's insectoid representatives clicked and chittered in what sounded like outrage. The Cathari delegate's tentacles slapped against its tank in agitation. Even the usually silent representatives from the other 2 elder species showed visible signs of anger. "Silence!" Crystallix's voice cut through the chaos like a laser. The chamber obeyed instantly. His crystalline form pulsed with colors that humans had never seen before, and Daewon felt a headache forming just from looking at him. "You refuse a lawful directive from the Federation Council?" Crystallix asked, his tone dangerously quiet. Junho held his ground. "With respect, Council Chair, we question whether this directive is truly lawful. The Federation Charter guarantees member species sovereignty over their internal affairs. Our technological development is an internal matter. Your technology affects Federation security," the Vrin representative hissed. "That makes it our concern. How does faster travel or better medicine threaten Federation security?" Hannah interjected. She knew she was breaking protocol by speaking without permission, but she didn't care. "Unless you're concerned that we might defend ourselves effectively if attacked." The Cathari delegate gurgled angrily from its tank. "You dare suggest the Federation would attack a member species? We are peacekeepers. Then, why are there 3 battle fleets positioned near human space right now?" Daewon asked coldly. "We have eyes, delegates. We can see your ships gathering. Those fleets are for your protection," Crystallix claimed. But his light flickered in a way that suggested even he didn't believe it. Junho raised his hand to regain control of the conversation. "The United Earth Government presents a counter-proposal. We are willing to engage in technology sharing through bilateral agreements with individual species. These would be partnerships based on mutual respect, fair trade, and voluntary cooperation. We will not, however, surrender our innovations through mandatory disclosure." He uploaded a document to the chamber's central display. It outlined a framework for technology exchange that included patent protections, licensing agreements, and profit-sharing arrangements. It was sophisticated and fair, treating Earth as an equal partner rather than a subordinate. The council members reviewed it in silence for several minutes. Then Crystallix spoke, and his words were ice. "This is unacceptable. You are a junior species. You have been part of the Federation for barely 3 years. You do not dictate terms to civilizations that have existed for thousands of years." "We're not dictating," Junho replied calmly. "We're proposing cooperation as equals." "Equals?" The Vrin representative's laugh was like nails on glass. "You control 1 planet and a handful of colonies. We control thousands of worlds across hundreds of light years. You have 100 military vessels. The Federation has 50,000. You are not our equals. Numbers don't determine worth," Hana said quietly. "Ideas do. Innovation does. The fact that you want our technology so badly proves you need what we have." The truth of her words hung in the air like smoke. For a moment, none of the council members spoke. They had been exposed, and they knew it. Finally, Crystallix regained his composure. "Very well. Since Earth refuses to honor its obligations as a Federation member, we have no choice but to impose consequences." He gestured, and a new document appeared on the central display. It was a formal decree, already bearing the seals of all 5 elder species. Effective immediately, Earth is placed under economic embargo. All Federation trade routes to human space are closed. All technology licenses previously granted to Earth are revoked. Human vessels will be denied docking privileges at Federation stations except for emergency situations. Human colonies are prohibited from recruiting workers from Federation species. Crystallix paused, letting each punishment sink in. Furthermore, Earth's provisional Federation membership is suspended pending compliance with Council directives. You will not attend Federation assemblies. You will have no vote on Federation policies. You will receive no Federation protection. And, the Cathari added with obvious satisfaction, Federation security patrols near human space will be intensified to protect our borders from potential threats. The message was clear. They were being isolated, boxed in, and watched. One wrong move might give the Federation an excuse to act more aggressively. Junho maintained his diplomatic expression, but Day One could see the tension in his shoulders. This was worse than they had expected. Not war yet, but something close to it. The United Earth government regrets the Council's decision, Junho said formally. We had hoped for a more cooperative relationship, but we stand by our position. Our sovereignty is not negotiable. Then you stand alone, Crystallix declared. This audience is concluded. You will leave Talaxis Prime immediately. As the three humans turned to exit the chamber, Day One noticed something strange. Along the walls of the massive room, smaller platforms held representatives from dozens of junior Federation species. Most avoided eye contact with the humans, clearly not wanting to attract Council attention. But a few watched with expressions that Day One couldn't quite read. One small mammalian alien caught his eye. It was barely a meter tall with gray fur and large eyes. It looked at the humans with what seemed like admiration, or perhaps hope. Then it quickly looked away as a ring guard moved nearby. The walk back to the Taguchi felt longer than before. The corridors seemed darker. Other aliens moved aside as the humans passed, some with fear, others with contempt. One group of young aliens from a species Day One didn't recognize actually hissed at them once aboard their ship and safely in space. The three humans finally allowed themselves to breathe. Wow, Hana said. Attempting humor. That could have gone worse. How? Day One asked. They could have started shooting. Give them time, Junho replied grimly. He was reviewing the embargo details on his tablet. This is comprehensive. They're trying to strangle us economically. Without Federation trade routes, our colonies will struggle to get supplies. Without their technology licenses, we'll have to replace dozens of systems we currently use under agreement. Can we survive this? Hannah asked. We'll have to, Day One answered. Earth has survived worse. We adapted before. We'll adapt again. Junho set down his tablet and looked at his companions. There's something else. Did either of you notice the junior species representatives in the chamber? Yes, Day One confirmed. Some of them were watching us strangely. I think some of them are on our side, Junho said thoughtfully. They can't say it openly, but I saw respect in their eyes. Maybe even envy. We did something they've never had the courage to do. Stand up to the bullies, Hana said. Exactly. Which means we might not be as alone as Crystallix thinks. As the Taguchi jumped into hyperspace toward Earth, its crew didn't know that Junho's instinct was correct. On Talaxis Prime, in a small private room far from the council chambers, 5 representatives from minor Federation species were meeting in secret. The gray-furred mammalian alien who had caught Day One's eye spoke first. His name was Chris, and he represented the Pixen, a species that had been pushed around by the elder races for centuries. The humans refused them, Chris said, his voice filled with wonder. They actually refused. And now they'll suffer for it, another alien replied sadly. Maybe, Kreese acknowledged. Or maybe they've just shown us a way forward. A way to stop being victims. The 5 aliens looked at each other. An idea was forming, dangerous and revolutionary. If the humans could stand against the Council, perhaps others could too. Back on Earth, President Minho received the news of the embargo with expected gravity. He addressed the planet that evening. We knew this wouldn't be easy. We knew there would be a price for maintaining our independence. That price has now become clear. But I want every human to understand something. We did not refuse the Federation because we're arrogant. We refused because we're free. And freedom is always worth fighting for. As he spoke, across Earth and its colonies, humans prepared for the difficult days ahead. They had made their choice. Now they would live with the consequences. The embargo hit Earth harder than anyone wanted to admit. Within 2 weeks, colony ships reported supply shortages. Medical facilities on Mars struggled as Federation-licensed equipment began failing without authorized replacement parts. Trade ships that had carried goods between human and alien worlds sat idle in orbital docks. Earth's economy, which had grown dependent on Federation integration over 3 years, suddenly found itself isolated. President Minho Kang stood in the Crisis Management Center deep beneath Geneva, watching holographic displays show problems cascading across human space. Intelligence Chief Jiwan Lee stood beside him, her face tight with concern. The Titan colony reports their water recycling system is operating at 60% capacity, she reported. It uses Federation technology that we can't repair without licensed parts. Europa Station has similar problems with their atmospheric processors. How long can they last? Minho asked. Weeks, maybe months if they're careful. But our people are scared. Are there any signs the Federation will back down? Jiwan shook her head. No. If anything, their patrols near our space have increased. 3 of our survey ships were turned away from neutral zones yesterday. They're being very thorough about enforcing the embargo. As if the universe wanted to add more problems, an alarm sounded. A new contact had appeared on long-range sensors near the edge of human-controlled space. Captain, Daewon Kim was already in his ship, the Tahagukji, on patrol duty when the alert came through. Unknown vessel approaching human space, his tactical officer reported. It's small, not broadcasting standard Federation identification. Battle stations, Daewon ordered, though he hoped it wouldn't come to a fight. Earth couldn't afford to start a war right now. But as the ship came closer, it broadcast a message on an old diplomatic frequency. Human vessel, this is the Pixon ship Hopestar. We request permission to speak with Earth government representatives. We come as friends, not enemies. Daewon recognized the species name from the council chamber. The small gray-furred aliens. Pixon vessel, you're cleared to approach. But understand that any hostile action will be met with force. We understand, Captain. We truly come in peace. 2 hours later, the Pixon ambassador Kreese sat in a meeting room aboard the Taegyuki with Daewon, Hana Choi, and a video link to President Minho on Earth. The small alien looked nervous but determined. What you did at Talaxis Prime was extraordinary. Kreese began without preamble. My people have been junior members of the Federation for 200 years. We've shared our agricultural technologies, our mining techniques, everything we had that was valuable. And in return, the elder species control our markets, dictate our policies, and treat us like servants. Why are you here? Minho asked directly through the video link. Because you showed us that resistance is possible. For 200 years, we believed we had no choice but to obey. But you refused them. And you're still here. You're still standing. Kreese pulled out a small data device. There are others like us. The Vorath, who shared their crystal fusion technology and now work as laborers in their own mines. The Silicates, whose mathematical innovations revolutionized navigation, but who receive no credit or profit. Even some mid-level species are unhappy with how the Federation operates. You want to rebel against the Council? Day One asked carefully. No, Kreese replied quickly. Rebellion would be crushed. But we want to create an alternative. A coalition of independent species who trade with each other on fair terms. Who share technology voluntarily, not through forced compliance. Who support each other. Hannah leaned forward with interest. You're talking about building a parallel economy outside Federation control. Exactly. It won't be easy. The elder species will try to stop us. But if enough of us work together, they can't punish everyone. There's strength in numbers. President Minho considered this carefully. What are you proposing specifically? An alliance. The independent coalition, we're calling it. Right now, it's just 5 species, including the Pixen. But we have resources Earth needs. The Varath can provide rare minerals without Federation restrictions. The Silicates can help optimize your navigation systems. We can share knowledge and goods that the embargo has cut off. In exchange for what? Ji-Wan asked skeptically through the video link. She always looked for hidden angles. For hope, Kreese said simply. And for Earth's innovations, shared fairly through bilateral agreements like you proposed to the Council. We pay for what we get. You pay for what you need. No one is forced. No one is exploited. The implications were enormous. If Earth joined this coalition, it would be openly defying not just the Council's embargo, but the entire Federation power structure. But if they didn't, the embargo might slowly strangle them. We need time to consider this, Minho said finally. Of course, but don't take too long. The Council knows we're here. They're already suspicious of species that show too much sympathy for Earth. After Kreese left, the debate among Earth's leadership was intense. Some argued that joining the coalition would escalate tensions with the Federation. Others insisted it was their only path to survival. Dr. Hana pointed out that it would give them access to resources they desperately needed. While Earth debated, Captain Day One received new intelligence from Commander Yunji Han, his second in command. She was leading a covert reconnaissance mission along the border of Federation space. Sir, you need to see this. Yunji's voice came through encrypted communication. She transmitted sensor data that made Day One's blood run cold. Hidden in a nebula just outside human space, Federation military ships were gathering. Not patrol vessels, but actual warships. Carriers, destroyers, even siege platforms designed for planetary assault. How many? Day One asked. At least 200 ships and more arriving every day. This isn't a defensive posture, Captain. This is preparation for an invasion. Day One immediately forwarded the data to Earth. When President Minho saw the evidence, his decision became clear. The Federation wasn't just trying to isolate Earth economically. They were preparing to take what they wanted by force if humans continued to resist. That evening, Minho contacted Ambassador Kreese through secure channels. The United Earth government accepts your proposal. We will join the independent coalition. The news spread quickly among the coalition members. Within days, trade ships began moving between Earth and Pixen space, carefully avoiding Federation patrols. The Varath sent shipments of rare minerals that Earth's colonies needed desperately. The Silicates transmitted navigation algorithms that helped human ships avoid Federation sensors. It wasn't perfect. Ships were sometimes caught and impounded. Resources were still scarce. But Earth was no longer alone, and that made all the difference. Meanwhile, Dr. Hana worked around the clock with a young scientist named Taijin. They focused on one goal, making Earth's defenses strong enough that the Federation would think twice before attacking. The problem is numbers, Taijin explained, showing Hana simulation after simulation. Even with our superior technology, we can't fight 50,000 ships with 100. Then we don't fight them directly, Hana replied. We make Earth too expensive to take. We create defensive systems so advanced that any invasion would cost them thousands of ships. They need to believe that attacking us would hurt them more than it's worth. They worked on new shield configurations that could layer multiple defensive fields simultaneously. They designed automated defense platforms that could operate without crews. They created minefields using quantum displacement technology that made them nearly impossible to detect until they activated. Ambassador Junho also worked tirelessly, reaching out to neutral species who weren't part of the Federation. He discovered that many civilizations had deliberately avoided joining because they'd seen what happened to junior members. Some of them were willing to trade with the independent coalition, seeing it as a safer alternative. 3 months after the embargo began, the situation had stabilized. Earth was still struggling, but no longer dying. The independent coalition had grown to 8 species. Trade routes had been established that bypassed Federation space entirely. And then Intelligence Chief Jiwan discovered something that changed everything. She burst into President Minho's office late one night, her eyes bright with excitement. Sir, I've been analyzing those intercepted Federation communications. The elder species have a problem they're not talking about publicly. The Vrin Collective's homeworld is experiencing some kind of medical crisis. Their own doctors can't solve it. And from what I can gather, it's spreading. Minho looked up from his work. A plague? Possibly. Whatever it is, their technology can't cure it. Millions of Vrin might die. And they'll need help, Minho said, understanding immediately. They'll need new medical technology. They'll need what Earth has. Exactly. The very technology they tried to take by force, they now need given freely. Minho leaned back in his chair, thinking. Earth had been pushed into a corner, isolated and threatened. But now the Federation needed something from them. The balance of power had shifted. Get me Ambassador Junho, Minho ordered. And contact Dr. Soman Bey at the medical research facility. I think the Federation is about to learn an important lesson about why you should treat people with respect. Outside his window, the stars shone brightly over Geneva. The message came through at dawn, encoded on a frequency that only the Federation Council used for emergency communications. Captain Daewon Kim was eating breakfast aboard the Talagukchi when his communications officer interrupted him with unusual urgency. Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from Talaxis Prime. It's encrypted with Council authorization codes. Daewon set down his coffee, suddenly very alert. The Federation hadn't contacted Earth directly since imposing the embargo 6 months ago. Put it through to my ready room. And get me President Minho immediately. Minutes later, Daewon watched as Crystallix's crystalline form appeared on his screen. The lumen looked different than during their last meeting. His light seemed dimmer, his colors less vibrant. He looked tired, if such a thing was possible for a being made of light. Captain Kim, Crystallix began, and there was no hostility in his voice now. Only desperation. I must speak with Earth's leadership about a matter of critical importance. Within the hour, a secure conference had been arranged. President Minho Kang, Ambassador Junho Park, Dr. Hana Choi, and Intelligence Chief Jiwan Lee all joined the call from Earth. Crystallix was accompanied by representatives from the Vrin Collective, who looked even worse than he did. The Vrin homeworld is dying, Crystallix said without preamble. A quantum plague has infected over 300 million individuals. It attacks at the molecular level, breaking down cellular bonds in ways our medical technology cannot repair. We have tried every treatment in our considerable database. Nothing works. The death toll increases by thousands every day. The Vrin representative spoke, its mandibles clicking with obvious distress. We have heard rumors that human medical nanotechnology operates on principles unknown to Federation science. That your nanobots can repair damage at the quantum level. There was a long silence. Everyone on the human side understood what was happening. The Federation, which had tried to force Earth to surrender its technology, was now begging for help. You want us to share our medical technology, President Minho said flatly. Yes, Crystallix admitted. We are formally requesting Earth's assistance. In exchange, the Federation Council is prepared to reconsider certain policies, such as the embargo? Jiwan asked sharply, among other things. Minho muted the communication for a moment and turned to his advisors. Opinions? It's a trap, Jiwan said immediately. They'll take what they need and then turn on us again. Maybe, Junho countered. But if we refuse, millions die. That makes us no better than them. Dr. Hannah looked troubled. This is exactly the kind of situation we were afraid of. If we give them our technology, we lose our advantage. But if we don't help, we're letting people die to protect our political position. There's another consideration, Day One added. How the galaxy sees us. If we help when they wouldn't, we prove we're better than the Federation Council. That matters. President Minho sat quietly for a moment, then unmuted the communication. Council Chair Crystallix, Earth is willing to help, but not on the terms you're imagining. Crystallix's light brightened slightly with hope. What are your conditions? First, we will send medical teams and equipment to treat the plague, but we retain control of the technology. We will not provide specifications or allow your scientists to reverse engineer our devices. This is assistance, not a technology transfer. That is, the Vrin representative began to protest, but Crystallix silenced them with a gesture. Continue, Crystallix said. Second, in exchange for our help, the Federation must formally recognize Earth's right to technological sovereignty. Put it in writing. No member species can be forced to share innovations. Technology exchange becomes voluntary, with fair compensation. The other elder species will never agree, Crystallix argued. Then their people will keep dying, Minho replied coldly. Because we both know this plague isn't just on the Vrin homeworld, is it? Our intelligence suggests it's spreading to other species. How long before it reaches the Lumens? The Kethori? Crystallix's silence confirmed the truth. The plague was more widespread than they'd admitted. Third, Minho continued, the independent coalition must be formally recognized as a legitimate organization. No retaliation against its members. They have the right to trade freely with whomever they choose. You drive a hard bargain, President Kang, Crystallix said quietly. I learned from the best, Minho replied. You tried to take what you wanted by force. Now you're learning that cooperation requires respect. These are our terms. Accept them or find another solution. For a long minute, no one spoke. Then Crystallix's form pulsed with resigned acceptance. Very well. On behalf of the Federation Council, I agree to your terms. Send your medical teams immediately. The formal agreements will be drafted and signed once the crisis is under control. Not good enough, Jiwan interjected. Sign the agreements first. Then we send help. Otherwise, how do we know you'll keep your word? Crystallix looked like he wanted to argue, but he couldn't. The Federation had proven they couldn't be trusted. Give us 24 hours to prepare the documents and secure the necessary approvals. You have 12 hours, Minho said firmly. People are dying, as you said. We wouldn't want to waste time. The communication ended. As soon as the screen went dark, Dr. Hana turned to President Minho. That was brilliant. But can we actually cure this plague? I have no idea, Minho admitted. That's why I'm putting you in charge of finding out. Dr. Somanbay has been analyzing the data the Federation sent us. You two figure out if our nanobots can handle this." 11 hours later, the Federation transmitted the signed agreements. They were comprehensive and binding. Earth's technological sovereignty was guaranteed. The independent coalition was recognized. The embargo was lifted immediately. Dr. Soman Bey, a leading specialist in nanotechnology, led a team of 23 human doctors and scientists aboard 3 medical ships toward the Vrin homeworld. Dr. Hana Choi accompanied them, carrying prototype nanobots specifically modified to combat quantum-level damage. The journey took 4 days. When they arrived, the devastation was worse than anyone had imagined. The Vrin homeworld, normally a bustling planet covered in massive hive cities, was eerily quiet. Entire sections of cities had been quarantined. Bodies were being burned in massive pyres that could be seen from orbit. Dr. Soman established a treatment center in the planet's largest medical facility. The first Vrin patient was brought in within an hour, its body already breaking down at the molecular level. The insectoid alien was clearly in agony. "Injecting nanobots now," Soman said calmly, though her hands trembled slightly. This was the moment everything depended on. If the treatment failed, millions would die and Earth would be blamed. The nanobots entered the Vrin's bloodstream and immediately went to work. They were programmed to identify quantum-level cellular damage and repair it at the molecular level. For the first hour, nothing seemed to change. The patient's vital signs continued to weaken. Then, slowly, the deterioration stopped. The cellular bonds began to stabilize. After 3 hours, the Vrin opened its compound eyes and clicked its mandibles weakly. "It's working," one of the Vrin doctors whispered in awe. Word spread rapidly. Human medical teams began treating patients across the planet. The process was slow and required careful monitoring, but the success rate was remarkable. Within 2 weeks, the death toll had dropped to nearly 0. Within a month, over 1 million Vrin had been treated successfully. The Federation broadcast the news across all their worlds. For the first time, humans weren't portrayed as stubborn junior members refusing to cooperate. They were shown as saviors who helped when no one else could. Dr. Soman gave an interview that was transmitted throughout Federation space. She spoke simply and honestly. "We didn't help because we wanted something in return. We helped because it was the right thing to do. That's what humanity believes in. That's what the Independent Coalition stands for. We're stronger when we work together by choice, not force." The impact was immediate and profound. 7 more species formally requested to join the Independent Coalition within days. Dozens of others began establishing trade relationships outside traditional Federation channels. The elder species' monopoly on galactic politics was cracking. 6 months after the crisis ended, Captain Day 1 stood on the bridge of the Tagadigi, watching a convoy of ships pass peacefully through what was once restricted space. Human vessels, Pixan transports, Vorath mining ships, and even some Federation craft traveled together now. Trade was flowing freely. Ambassador Junho had just returned from a conference where 17 species signed a new charter for cooperative technology development. It emphasized voluntary participation, fair compensation, and mutual respect. The elder species had signed it too, unable to refuse in the face of overwhelming support from junior members. Dr. Hana entered the bridge carrying a datapad with the latest news. The Federation Council just announced a major restructuring. They're creating seats for junior member representatives. Real voting power, not just advisory positions. Kreese from the Pixan is being considered for one of the seats. "Because of us," Day 1 said quietly. "Because someone finally stood up to them," Hana corrected. "We just happened to be the first ones brave enough or crazy enough to try."